Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. I recently went out to go check the new film called Scary Movie 6, which is supposed to be the sixth installment of the franchise. The Wayans brothers are now full of control of the IP. Now they get to do whatever they want. And it's been nearly over 20 years since we last saw the Wayans brothers in the Scary Movie franchise since Scary Movie 2. And I'm someone who has grown up watching the early scary movies. I love the first one. I think it's a peak slasher spoof movies of all time. It's a movie that I watch over and over again every now and then because it's one of the funniest movies of all time. It's my childhood. I grew up on watching that movie. I loved how they were able to poke fun of the whole meta genre of the slasher films like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then Scary Movie 2 was definitely a haunted version of the movie, and I thought that that was a great sequel. Sure, it's not going to be a great movie, but the movie itself did its job by making me laugh, have a lot of the memorable jokes in it. I actually was one of the people that really loved Scary Movie 3. Sure, the Wayans brothers were not very involved, and Marlon Wayans told this whole story about the situation about their pitch for Scary Movie 3. The Weinstein brothers took the pitch from Scary Movie 3 and stole their idea from the Wayans brothers, and they took that and they made that into the third movie. And I still think it was still fun to watch. I still think it's hilarious. There's still a lot of memorable jokes that I laugh so hard, and that's what it did. And then when 4 came around, that's where it went down the rails even more. It started to die down a lot of the spoof movies, every sequel they try to make. I skipped out on the of Scary Movie 5 because I just can't bring myself to watch it because I've heard so many bad things that it's just not worth watching. And when we find out years later that the Wayans brothers are now have full creative control, and I had heard that they were going to do a new scary movie. I was a little nervous because it's been a long time since the Wayans brothers ever put out a lot of great comedy spoof movies. Kind of like the movie that they did like with White Chicks, which that was one of the cult following classic comedy movies. And even Don't Be a Menace, a spoof film that I actually recently checked out and I recently enjoyed the hell out of it. It was funny as hell. Then and I was a little nervous because I've seen the haunted house movies that Michael Tiddes that directed the first two. I really enjoyed the first haunted house with Marlon Wayne. I thought that was a hilarious movie, not up at the same level with scary movies. And fun fact that a haunted house movie, though that was supposed to be their pitch for Scary Movie 5, and they did not take it, so they took their own pitch and made this into a different movie. But a haunted house 2 was definitely a terrible sequel. It was a rushed out sequel. It was all over the place and the jokes were not landing. So when I found out that they were going to do a scary movie and that they were bringing everybody back, especially Anna Faris, Regina Hall, Shawn Wayne, that they were going to turn, and he's actually going to bring their one of their kids in the movie as well, and bring back some of the legacy characters from what we have grown up from the first two scary movies. And I was still a little bit nervous because I feel like it had a little bit of ego going around with the Wayans brothers, that even though they have full creative control, I have a feeling that the jokes were not going to be as good as they used to be, and then they rely too much on the nostalgia and throwbacks to what we have already seen before, and not create any new original material. But in this version of Scary Movie 6, they're definitely poking fun of Scream 5 and 6. Where now we're focusing on a little bit more of the new characters, poking fun of the new gens, and even poking fun of the legacies. And the legacies are now caught in the Matt Slasher movie all over again, and now they're going to have to team up. And we got the returning character like Marlon Wayans' character Shorty, who is definitely one of the highlights of that film, one of the most popular characters in the scary movie franchise. And then we see the returning character Ray, who is basically the straight gay character of the franchise in the first two. And it's been years since we saw the Wayans brothers and since Scary Movie 1 and 2. And seeing them come back was great. By the time they put out that trailer in front of Scream 7, when they showed the party scene, when they were making fun of sinners, you see Ray jumping in front of the front door, and I thought that was just a big, like, a cheer moment because we love the character Ray. He's probably our favorite character and one of the funniest character of the franchise. And yeah, you got the returning character Anna Faris, who is trying to play off the veteran soul survivor like Laurie Strode from Halloween, which they're poking fun of. After coming out of the theater, I will say that I had a really good time watching it. I thought it was a very well directed. It had a great production value. The cinematography was good. We had some good visual choices. There was a lot of good Easter eggs that some of them were funny as hell. There's a Final Destination joke in the beginning of the movie without giving away the context. I died laughing the most. And I thought they were a little bit more consistent to the main plot, even though they poked fun of a lot of these horror movies from the last decade, that most of the stuff had a little bit more Easter egg and doesn't have anything to do with the overall plot of the movie. But then again, it's a spoof movie. This movie is there to make you laugh and have a good time. And the Wayans brothers said that they were not holding anything back of the jokes. They're gonna not pull any punches. They're gonna make fun of everyone. They're gonna make fun of the Gen Zs, millennials, the political parties from the Republicans and the Democrats. They are not holding anything back, which I'm totally okay with because I'm fine with them not pulling any punches. I'd rather have them not hold anything back than just water down the jokes and play itself safe. Which in this one, they did not play it safe. They did not hold anything back by poking fun of everybody. The only negative I have with this movie that I feel like this movie kind of had a little bit of agenda of poking fun of the political parties more than in poking fun of the horror genres, which it does. It does poke fun of it a majority of the part, but I feel like it felt like they heavily focus on the political jokes rather than focusing on more of the horror genre of horror films that came out in the last decade. Which, don't get me wrong, they do that majority of the time. And I was a little disappointed of how they handled some of the legacy characters in the movie, like the character Doofy that's played by Dave Sheridan, and I thought that Doofy was one of the funniest characters in the first movie, and for him to come back, they do have a reason why he is now, and because in the first movie that we found out that he was just plain dumb and that he was the killer the whole time. They definitely acknowledged some of the stuff in the first movie, but I wasn't really a big fan of how they've handled him, how they used him. He does play off the Dewey figure from Scream 5, where he's just been hiding out all this time, and now he's going to come out of hiding and help these new characters to find the killer. He was fine for the most part, but I was disappointed that none of the jokes were quite landing. Most of the stuff were just throwbacks to what we have already heard before, and I feel like that was disappointing that we didn't get enough new jokes for the material. There were times where they tried to, and there's some stuff that didn't stick the landing. And I was excited to see the actress, Cheri Oteri from Scary Movie 1 that played Gail Hailstorm. She was one of the funniest character in the first movie, and when she shows up on screen, I was very disappointed of how they handled her character in the movie. I didn't like her character at all. I was a little disappointed. Most of the stuff were just throwbacks, and some of the stuff were just more of the political jokes, and it just didn't really stick the landing. Kind of fell flat for me. And then when they brought back Chris Elliott, who was the caretaker, who has a small little tiny hand who was one of the funniest character in Scary Movie 2, they brought him back, and they were going to poke fun of the character, Nicolas Cage's character from Long Legs, and he only had one scene, and that scene itself felt very pointless. It didn't stick the landing either. He was there for the cameo, and it felt like it was a useless cameo. If you were to take that scene out of the movie, it wouldn't have changed anything. And I will say that as much as I love seeing Shawn Wayne back as Ray, I felt like the majority of the time there was just scenes that were not as funny as I was hoping for. And when he shows up, he's good at times, but then he kind of felt like he was pushed to the side majority of the time. And there is one scene where they're poking fun of the movie Get Out. There is a visual trippy scene that is an animated movie that came out last year, and I won't tell you what it is, but it made me laugh. That was one of the funniest moments in the movie that I actually had fun with. And they do poke fun of the John Wick fight scene in the third act, and they change they change the lighting and the lenses and make it more like the John Wick movie in the first one. I thought that scene with Anna Faris playing off the Keanu Reeves as John Wick was funny as hell. I thought that was good because ironically, in the first movie, in the third act, she plays off the Neo from the Matrix when she's facing off Ghostface in the film. But overall, I still had a good time. I won't put this movie on par with the first three Scary Movies. I think that the film had a lot of potential to do more, and I am pretty sure that they've cut out a lot of majority of stuff in the movie that they didn't think it would quite work, or maybe it would have been too much and it kind of would have gone too far. I was very shocked of how they handled the ending of the movie in the third act with the plot twist. There is a big cameo from the previous Scary Movies. They definitely tried to do a culmination of all five of the Scary Movies, and they give out the motivation of why this movie is getting made in the first place and why that there's all the killings for a reason. And instead of having the new generation with the old and with the new, it's completely the opposite, where the legacy characters are there to live on, and the new generation are going to be pushed aside. And I thought how they did it was actually pretty done well because it's poking fun of the reboot situation about these new generation who are trying to take on the new franchise and be the fresh blood, while the supporting characters are the legacy characters. This one is actually the complete opposite. Now, I still wish they could have done a little bit more. I wish that some of the jokes worked, but not all of it did. It did have some laugh out loud moments, but there was one scene in the substance that I feel like that most of you guys got spoiled on TikTok and other social media outlets that showed a big cameo from another Wayne's movie. And it took me completely off guard, and I did not see that coming. But I won't tell you what it is if you haven't seen it yet. I still think you should go out and see it, and I think it's a movie that you're going to have a fun time. But I will say that it's not one of the best spoof movies. I think it has a good potential, and I'm open for them to do more because now it's actually tracking well at the box office, and I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to do another scary movie. But they definitely said that if this movie does well, then they can push forward to doing White Chicks 2 and Don't Be a Menace sequel. The only thing I wish they could do differently is I think they need to put aside the ego-ness and actually just make it entertaining and not go all over the place with a lot of crazy films that you're poking fun of. I feel like they should need to keep it as small as possible because if you overstep with so many movies that you're making fun of, then what else are you going to bring to the table when you make another one if this new one does well? It feels like you're going to go all over the place and it just becomes very inconsistency to the main plot. I understand that this is a spoof movie and that you're not going to take it very seriously because the goal is to make us laugh. And for the majority part, it did. But when you rely too much on nostalgia and the throwbacks that we've heard so many times over the years, it becomes very exhausting and it becomes an overkill. And it's not as funny as the first time you told those jokes. The thing about doing sequels is not to rely on what you have done before. You don't want to be like, "Oh, do you remember that joke in the first movie? Remember that joke that you saw in the second film? Well, we're going to bring that back." Like, no, don't do that. Like, dude, we've heard the joke the first time. We don't need to hear that a millionth time. And and that just shows you that it becomes a little bit lazy when you don't have any new material. I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. That's my rating for this movie. I still think you're gonna have a good time watching it if you're a fan of the franchise and you love the Wayans brothers. I think that there's a lot of potential, but I hope they can make their own improvements over the next installment and not try to go too big, if that makes any sense. But that's my thoughts on Scary Movie 6. Let me know what you thought about it. Did you enjoy it? Did you had a good time laughing your ass off? Or were you someone out there that just wasn't for you and the jokes were not quite landing for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this review, make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you know when my videos are up. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate you supporting my channel. And if for those of you who don't know and you're new to the channel, make sure you go to the Small Zero channel. It's a collaborative channel where I collaborate and co-host alongside with Ryan Cam and 3D Jake. We cover everything that goes around in the world of movies and TV shows. And trailers and so on and so forth. So definitely check that out. We've been having a lot of guests on our show and it was great. And we're going to continue to grow the channel as we go along. We usually do the live stream at least Wednesdays or Fridays, depending on the schedule. We usually just do it once a week. And then I post a lot of the clips that are edited for the segments that we covered. So that way you can watch it individually in case you don't want to watch the full version, because most of our live is basically over 2 hours long. So definitely go and subscribe to the Small Zero YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. I'll put the link in the description down below. Now, if you want to follow my social media platforms, I'm very active on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Click the link tree in the description down below as well. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from, and stay tuned for more of my content.